The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
you're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Benjamin Dixon Show. Obviously, I'm not Ben. I'm your host, Anoa Changa. Joining with me is Mike Redwine of the Louisa Project. How are you doing this evening, brother?
I'm doing good, sis. How are you?
I'm doing well. Ben, Ben's a good dad. Ben is a strong, solid family man, and family absolutely comes first. So Ben has other business to take care of this evening. I hope everything is going very well. It's all good. Everything is good. It's good stuff going on in the Dixon family tonight. So shout out to the Dixons, and thank you so much, of course, for tapping me in, and I had to bring Mike along so y'all don't just listen to me yammer on for an hour. It's a lot. It's been a busy news cycle today, and of course, obviously, yesterday was another election cycle. I know some folks are kind of smarting, to use the old timey term, from the turnout in Florida with Alan Grayson's race, as well as with Tim Canova. Kind of saw some folks a little upset with the way Tim Canova, well, actually both of them refused to endorse their opponents, but Tim Canova had like a parting shot. And there's a whole discussion about entitlement and sore losers and stuff. I mean, I just think he calling it like he sees it. The evil empire had to come crack down with the swiftness to beat him and his team of volunteers back. And I think that race, I think when you look at the work that was done in such a short period of time, particularly when you're talking about someone who has been established in that district as a leader for such a long time. And it took President Obama, Vice President Biden, John Lewis, and a whole host of other characters from the Democratic establishment to come, and
neoliberal dream team,
pretty much, right? And you had like just regular people. So I know that a lot of people were discouraged, and I don't think this is an issue. I have not seen anything to allege that this was like a rigged situation, that there were discrepancies. Now, I will get into quickly a case that is happening in St. Louis, where there is a situation with some rigging and other issues in a Democratic race that happened during the Missouri primary 3 weeks back. But I haven't seen any of that, any voter irregularities or anything. I mean, sometimes even with the best of efforts, the chips just don't fall in your favor. Does that mean we give up? Does that mean that we lost? Does that mean that we didn't do good enough? No. But this is definitely a time to assess, and look at, as we look towards 2018, because doing what Tim Canova and his campaign did in maybe 6 months to mount a congressional campaign and fundraise. I mean, this is stuff that takes people a long time to be able to do and master. So like I said last night on my show, you guys rock. Okay.
Absolutely.
You rock. You are awesome. You are the movement. And we don't need to get into all of the particularities about who did what when, because quite honestly, when we look at some other races that happened yesterday, like we look at Arizona, first off, we look at Florida races. There were a lot of races that people weren't necessarily paying attention to. And I forgot my cheat sheet, so I can't rattle them all off. But there were some really
I could help you.
There were some really great wins that happened in Florida. One that tickles me to death is Angela Corey was unseated. Angela Corey. Now I don't know, and so here's the caveat to that. I don't know anything about the woman that replaced her. I know nothing about the woman the woman that won the Republican primary. But having Angela Corey be unseated, if you're not familiar with Angela Corey, she actually was just profiled about a week ago in The Nation as potentially the country's worst prosecutor.
The cruelest prosecutor.
The cruelest prosecutor. Yeah. There's been so much with, issues with her and over sentencing and over prosecuting of juveniles. If you all remember the Marissa Alexander case with the woman who alleged being abused by her husband, and she did the warning shot to kind of try and get out of the house. She couldn't get out. You know, she tried to use standard ground defense.
That's so
and
sad.
was, like, her case was so egregious, and she prosecuted that woman to the fullest extent, her team. And then it's also her team that botched the George Zimmerman trial. Watching that was like, you know, getting a root canal. It was just ridiculous. So she has the history, and some people might say, well, she's a tough prosecutor. Nah, it's something more than that with her.
There's a line between tough and cruel, right? I mean, It's one thing to be a prosecutor and say, okay, I'm going to put away the bad guys, or even err on the side of public safety when you make your decisions. But when you choose to make decisions as if people are something you can just throw away, right? Even especially young people, how she jailed young people.
Yeah, like the jailing of young people. Like I think
mistakes.
And I think they profiled a young man. I think his name was Christian. Who, I mean, you have kids who, and again, you know, people. We can talk about recidivism. We can talk about, you know, punishment for crimes and things like that. You know, that's definitely something we should all talk about. But when you look at the history, when you look at her cases, when you look at the overzealous nature of her prosecutions, there's a problem there, and this is well documented. So to see her get unseated, I mean, it gave me joy personally. Again, like it's similar with you know, Anita Alvarez in Chicago.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
was the prosecutor in the Laquan McDonald case, who, you know, helped kind of push things. And there were other issues with her as well. But this strategy of unseating, you know, state's attorneys, prosecutors, right? It is something to consider as a part of our toolbox.
Because go ahead. We have, I mean, if we as a community decide that someone should pay a political price, and because we're such a huge voting bloc, especially on the Democratic side, right? Because we're such a huge voting bloc, we should use our, just like every other constituency, use our voting power to get the things we want and need in our communities. And that shouldn't be something that's frowned upon. It shouldn't be something that's odd. Like every other constituency can reach out and ask for something or demand something except us.
Well, she's a Republican. I will say this: Angela was a Republican. Angela Corey's a Republican.
I'm sorry,
but from what I was just asking,
I'm just saying, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I do definitely agree with you. Yeah. But what I was asking, some folks down in Florida, and they were saying like people actually like change registration and cross over. Now I haven't actually verified this. This is anecdotal, but people cross over to vote against her. There was I'm trying to think of the sister's name. It's just skipping around. There were some other races in Florida. One of the current members of this Congressional Black Caucus, one of the sitting, you know, U.S. House of Representatives members, who's actually under indictment right now. She lost her election. She just was indicted for issues, I believe, involving using a fundraiser as a personal slush fund. So some fraud type activity. So she actually lost her race as well. But there's another young attorney. Well, I don't know how young she is, but she looks young. She became the first Black woman. She won her race, so she's the first Black woman to be state's attorney.
That's awesome.
I forget the county in Florida. So there are actually several other races. There are a couple of groups I follow that are like different regional political groups. And so there were a couple other folks who did unseat, you know, more establishment types, who did run upstart. They may not have necessarily been Bernie-crats per se, but so here's the thing. We got to get out of this, like this purism, right? Because there are some really good people out there who may not have necessarily jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak, but they run really good campaigns, and they're definitely about the people. And they, you know, you should look at people in your community, people who are running locally, and say, hey, is this person worth my respect? Because don't get it twisted, just because people jumped on the Bernie wagon from a political standpoint, they may or may not actually be the best person for your community. I think there are some folks who have been out there who are running as Bernie-crats. I mean, maybe they're saying good stuff, but you really should just look closely on a case-by-case scenario. There are certain people, like I said, like Tim Canova is someone we got to know over the last several months, and it's like, okay, great, we can get behind him. But to just descend into, oh, it's all rigged. we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to be able to move the needle if that's all we focus on.
Yeah,
and,
we've got to vote. We've got to vote smart, right? I mean, I believe truly. I'm a true believer in principled voting, right? Vote your principles, right? But you also hate to say principles should be on a sliding scale, but at the same time, you should be understanding nobody's perfect, right? If you've got some if you got some rock solid principles, like I don't like a guy with blue eyes, or whatever your thing is. If you got some rock solid principles, I'll never down you for voting along those lines. But at the same time, we also have to understand that our vote should be used to improve our lot, right? So it's a hard line to draw, but everybody should be aware of principles and voting to help your future, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So flipping to another state that had elections last night, Arizona. So I'm really excited about Arizona elections because people.
Before we go, I'm sorry. Before we go, we have to remember that it's not very often we get good political news out of Florida. So we have to add that to our the few good things that happen, right?
Seriously, I
Florida is a black hole for politics in most days.
It was a shock that, when you think about the cases that Angela Corey has had, because you had the Marissa Alexander case, you had the Georgia Zimmerman case, they were somewhat around the same time, and then you had also Michael Dunn was on trial for the murder of Jordan Davis. And they had got him on the other charges for shooting wildly into the car and endangering the other kids in the car. But at first, it was a mistrial on the actual murder charge for Jordan Davis, and then I think they retried it. But when you looked at the way her team handled those cases, and again, there's a great nation piece about this too, but like the way she would go after certain cases versus others, I mean, it just really called into question of what is really justice in that district with her as
that was about her politics, right? That was about
it seems like
reaching out to her constituency. But
yes.
But we see that doesn't always work out when we get up and fight for what's right.
So it'll be good to see how the community interacts with whomever her replacement is, and to see if there's any maybe difference in what's going on. But we can't just, it's great to vote people out and get rid of them, but we do also need to look at who the replacement is, what they're about, and what they're willing to do, and hold them accountable as well. But again, Arizona was a bright spot when we talk about burning credits. Arizona, and some of you, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me harping about this, because I think it's a great distinction to make. So Juan Mendez won his primary for the 26th legislative district. He was running for state senate, and he was he's on the list of the Our Revolution candidates. Pretty awesome. Shout out to Juan. I got a chance to sit down and talk with Juan, and I keep stressing this point. Juan ran not just by himself. He ran on a slate. They call themselves the Clean Elections Team. Athena Salzman, who I talked to during the Millennial Candidate Roundtable, if you guys saw that back in May. Then also her running mate for the House, Isela. Isela Blanc. I'm blanking on her name. Yeah, but they ran for the House. There are two spots for the House in the 26th district, right? So the three of them, they were clean election candidates. They didn't take any big money. There was a provision in Arizona that if you raise a certain amount, get a certain amount of signatures and stuff, then you'll get a certain amount of funds from the state to run your campaign. And that's how they ran their campaign. They were running against people.
Matching funds, yeah.
Right. They ran against people who opted out of that system. But one of the things that Juan and Athena and Isela stress was that doing it that way forced them to have to get out there and talk to the people in their community. I mean, they're already community leaders and activists, but it forced them to get out there and really talk to the people. And then people felt like they had a buy-in in the process.
Yeah, getting skin in the game from the community is so important. Yeah.
So shout out to Juan, shout out to Athena, shout out to Isela, because
bravo, ladies.
again, sitting there talking to them, they ran a grassroots community. It's grassroots. It was community. Very well developed concepts in terms of policy and actual engagement. Like, I was very, very impressed. And like I said, I spent about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half talking to the three of them mid last month. But talking about issues from everything, Arizona is a mess. And with these races, it's possible to kind of at least shift the Senate blue and, add a little bit more support into the House in Arizona. So that's stateside. But again, these state elections are really important because state elections dictate so much in our day-to-day lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little, kind of a long recap, but a recap of some of the elections and stuff that happened last night.
Yeah, people overlook those state elections. I mean, like they say, you got to vote for everything from dog catcher to president and everything in between. You've got to think about what's going to happen down ticket and think really, really carefully about that. Like I again, vote your principles, vote what you think, do what you think is best with your vote, but also vote smartly.
And what was great about this race too was Juan is currently occupying one of the 26 legislative district House seats, right? Mm-hmm. So he currently has one of those seats, and he's moving up to Senate. And Athena and Estella are running for the two, House seats. So, that's also mentorship and built-in support there as well. And even if you don't have ability to kind of run on a slate, so to speak, in your jurisdiction, if you're running for office in state and local elections. But if you can pair up with someone who's had that experience, that helps too, because you have someone who already has been through this, right?
Yeah, so that can make a world of difference.
Yeah. So I really like the three of them. I really like the way they're working together. I checked the Secretary of State website because, again, there's the big announcement about Juan from Our Revolution. But I'm like, okay, so what about Athena and Estella? Because I talked to all three of them, and I want to know. Those are my people. I've been blessed to talk to so many candidates so far. And
the kingmaker. Look at my girl. Look at you.
I'm not a king. I can't take.
I'm just messing with you.
I just had a conversation with them, but I feel like a proud mama in some way.
As you should. I mean, we have all, well, not as much as you guys on the way. Especially the Project Sanity guys and Ben, how we've tried to give these folks some shine. Hopefully we'll see Jesse Smith soon and try to get. I love Jesse because Alabama needs Jesse.
Alabama needs change. Jesse, if you guys, I know you guys might have seen an exchange with all of us about why he wasn't an Our Revolution candidate. It's not really clear what how they're picking people. Like I said, Juan was on the list, but Athena.
Yeah, there should be some transparency in that criteria. There should be some transparency.
So it's not really clear, and hopefully, we can all find out what that's all about. But it doesn't really matter because we are still going to represent and support and help lift up candidates wherever we can. There's a good picture of Athena Solomon. Like I said, Athena, awesome, bright. She was a part of our millennial panel. Like I said, we had back in May. Bright, really like cutting edge, leading the pack. Mm-hmm. It was, like I said, that group, the three of them. That's some stuff about to happen in the 26th legislative district. Like, regardless of what happened with the other two races too, like it's just it's and these are Bernie folks too. So I mean, people are picking up the mantle, and they didn't get, Juan's name popped up this past few days, but they have been grinding all this time without all the big pomp and circumstance and attention.
I mean, but I think we've seen so many bright young people who have come out here. You millennials, wow. The political establishment the political establishment was not ready for you guys at all. I mean, you can see with Bernie's campaign, even Bernie was surprised.
And I think that, and this is why I gotta try to encourage. I know I can be snippy sometimes, especially if y'all catch me on Twitter with only 140 characters. I can get, but I'm all for the team, but this is what I need people to understand. Don't despair, right? We started building something and we're gonna keep on going, because 2018, the midterm elections is about to be on.
Yeah.
On like Donkey Kong, like Voltron up in this piece.
Yeah, because I mean, if you take a look at some of the strategies that you young folks have been putting forward and activating the activating the electorate, like especially at the grassroots level, like we haven't seen in decades, and you guys really need to be applauded for that, and please continue.
Well, it's really, it's cross-generational work going on, definitely, because, with the work I did with Women for Bernie, our youngest, when we talked about the core team with Women for Bernie, right? The youngest person was a high school senior. Shout out to Jamaica. Jamaica just started at American. You go, girl.
Go ahead, Jamaica.
The youngest person, Jamaica Holmes, youngest person with women and the Women for Bernie, the core team, not like our general state membership or whatever, in the core like leadership team was 17, senior high school. She's now just freshman, starting at American University, brilliant young woman. And our oldest, don't kill me. I don't know who's older, Pat, Laura. I apologize. No, Pat, I don't think Pat would be older than Laura. Portia Bolger, you all are very familiar with Portia. So we range, we had baby boomers, we had, I don't know if the 17-year-olds are millennials. I get caught up because once upon a time they called us Generation Y, and then all of a sudden they developed the term millennials. So whatever. But but I digress.
Millennials, Generation Y. I love y'all. Y'all keep doing what you're doing.
There's a lot going on. So the next election that I just wanted to kind of pop on about a little bit has already taken place. Is in St. Louis. So in Missouri, we know there were a whole bunch of people who ran in Missouri. Shout out to Cori Bush. Talked with Cori Bush a while back about her race for the Senate. Deron Black ran for a state level position out of Kansas City. But Bruce Frank. Now, if you guys all remember when Bernie Sanders had his rally, I believe it was like in East St. Louis, Illinois, somewhere near that border, right? He had 3 activists, from Missouri come and speak. Cori Bush, and Bruce Frank, and then there was another young woman whose name I'm blanking on right now. But Bruce Frank also ran for office. He ran for state office, and I think it's the 78th state district, and very, very tight race. So I don't know if you may have seen some of the tweets or whatever. He lost by less than 100 votes and went through the process of demanding a recount. Well, now there's a whole big investigation, and you check any of the stuff that you check him out on Twitter. Bruce Franks Jr., I believe is his Twitter handle. But basically, looking at some of the stuff coming out of the St. Louis papers and stuff, they're finding that there are about 270, I think it is, absentee ballots that are being called into question. Right. Wow. So he demanded this recount because it turned out he lost by 90 votes.
Wow, that's razor thin.
And there's approximately, there's like 200 and some odd, like I said, I think the number's 270 absentee ballots that are being called into question. And part of the issue is some of the people are just like, they were confused because when the incumbent, came in and was like, well, there's one woman that was interviewed said that she felt intimidated and threatened almost when she was approached by people for the incumbent, and she explained that she was going to vote for Mr. Frank. There were other people saying that, there are absentee ballots that were submitted that they didn't request. Like, it's all types of stuff. It's very, very suspect, but there's a huge investigation. Now, this is not conjecture. This is a Democratic race. This was a Democratic primary race. This isn't conjecture. Yeah. This is
not a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
There was a grand jury convened today. There was a grand jury convened today to investigate and see what is going on. So
which is really heartening, because a lot of times it's like, okay, it's over. Yeah. Everybody voted. Everybody go home. It's over. We just got to live with it. Got to wait 2 to 4 years to change it. It's heartening to see people say, okay, we got a problem now. We need to fix it now. And that's good to see.
And in his gut, something told him that this was the right thing to do and to push forward and make sure this isn't a sore loser. This isn't sour grapes. This is something that was done wrong. You know, whether it was intentional by the other campaign itself or just other support, whoever or whomever or whatever. Like, people know things go wrong in the system. This is election fraud. This is exactly not fraud, voter fraud, as you people keep mistakenly call it. This is election fraud. This is a prima facie case for election fraud right here. And I definitely stand, whatever happens, you know, brother has done his due diligence and pushed the envelope on this. And you
as he should have, yeah.
You the real MVP, bro. Like, seriously, we talk about this movement, this revolution, all this other stuff. Y'all need to be paying attention to some of these other races that are going on. Just because Bernie didn't send out an email about somebody doesn't mean they're not worth your time and support.
Absolutely. Do your research, family. Do your
research. Do your research. There's plenty of lists of people who, you know, it's great that we have some great names to get behind and stuff, but there are quite a few people who, for whatever reason, aren't making those. Like we said, Jesse Smith is one of them too. There are people who didn't make it on the list for whatever reason. There he goes. There goes Jesse right there. Look at this.
Speak of the devil. Look at that. My man.
How you doing?
All right.
Good. We were just talking about we are working on getting you on the big screen with us over here, but I was just talking about how, you know, folks need to reach out and to look into, you know, the candidates that are running for office and not just be worried about whose name is on an email list, you know. And it's not any diss, no shade, but we're not really, it's not really clear what decisions or how that's being decided, who gets what shine and who gets what plug. So we have to be the movement. We have to continue to lift people up.
You hear that, our revolution? We need to know your criteria, baby. Transparency.
Oh yeah, I will be sending emails.
Hey, I'm just saying, if they're gonna be the folks that we look to, them in the brand new Congress, we need some transparency, right?
Well, if you want my money, I mean, like,
yeah, absolutely. You can't be like a mini DNC, right? If you're gonna be helping us lead this charge, brand new Congress, our revolution, we need transparency. Mm-hmm. Nobody's asking for anything crazy. We're not asking for your firstborn. We want transparency.
We're not Republican or anything like that. Exactly.
We just want folks to understand what they need to do to get on your list. And if Jesse's not getting on your list, as hard as he's fighting, we need to talk, family. We need to talk.
And for y'all, if y'all are not familiar with Jesse, and again, we trying to get him side, you know. Shout out to my producer who's supposed to be off, who came in to pitch hit tonight. Like, David Grossman is awesome behind the scenes, y'all.
David is a beast.
David's resizing all of us on the screen right now so we can bring Jesse in too. But if you don't know Jesse has been going hard since the early days of the Bernie campaign. I got to meet Jesse actually here in Atlanta at the Fox Theater. I was like, oh, I know who you were. He's a vet. Yeah. He's a community, you know, he's a fighter, he's an activist. I mean, he's so much.
Brawler.
Awesome dad. I mean, like Jesse is a beast. And seriously, this is the type of person that we need to be lifting up and supporting as we talk about, you know, moving forward and having more meaningful, progressive representation in our districts. Absolutely.
Jesse was kind enough.
They can hear Jesse, they just can't see you on screen, so you can chime in. We're working on it.
No worries. Oh, well, I got the invite. I was trying to figure out how was I going to make it to I could be here. I definitely didn't want to turn down this hour. But as far as the our revolution goes, in my mind, for Congress, regardless. Okay, I started. I made the decision to run in 2012. Okay. I ran in 2014, and when I made that decision, my decision was based on the fact of winning an election. So whether our revolution, Bernie Sanders, the DCCC, whomever, whether they decide to add me to their list or not, the intensity and the fervor in which I pursue the progressive causes in which we bang for will not decrease. As a matter of fact, it will intensify, because they will only be how much individual influence that I will have versus collectively. So either way, like you said, I'm in this to win it, and it's not about me. I didn't get in this for me in the first place. I want to win for people for a change.
There it is, first class. Hey, real quick, for everybody who doesn't know, this is Jesse T. Smith. He's running for Congress in the 3rd district, right, Jesse?
3rd district of Alabama.
3rd district of Alabama. JT for Congress. Look him up. Look him up. He's a brilliant man. He's a soldier. He's out here getting it. Check him out on Twitter. He is smashing them. I'm sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
Oh no. Hey, look, this is just, you know, I'm just honored to be able to run for office. Number one, that we've gotten to the point to where African Americans can actually run for office without, you know, all of this negativity coming at them. I mean, it's a blessing every time I step, you know, I step out of my house. I talk with people. It's the American dream for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, and I say that simply because I want to put this into context a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Please do.
While serving in the military, you know, when you go overseas, one thing you are not sure of is whether or not you're going to come back. So
that's true.
When your wheels on your airplane goes up, you've written a blank check to the United States of America, and you know all of the passion and emotion that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm out of the military, I can't just throw those sacrifices away. I have to, you know, I'm going to double down on those sacrifices, because now I can actually fight for, or either fight against the that have created these unnecessary wars and that have perpetuated a state of unrest in the region. You know, hey, this is the Army, the United States government trained me to do this. I'm good at what I do, and cool. I'm just bringing this to the people, you know.
Right. I was just thinking about something that you just said about, you know, the fact that we have African Americans, we have Black people who can even run for office, who can even vote for each other running for office, right? You know, recently a federal court judge had struck down like certain sections of the North Carolina. I mean, Wisconsin had some stuff struck down, North Carolina and North Dakota. And the
thank goodness
Supreme Court actually slapped North Carolina back, and because you know they appealed that decision, and they're not going to be. I was just reading earlier, they're not going to be able to enforce those provisions. Some of the worst provisions of recent voter ID laws that were passed in North Carolina recently. So I mean, and that's just in time for this upcoming election. And we just look at it's 3 years since the Supreme Court since they gutted the VRA. And we do have such an important election cycle. This is the first presidential election cycle since the 2013 decision that we won't have the protection of Section 5. And now we're seeing all these cases come through the system. And I know in Alabama, you know, Alabama made news last year with the DMV closures. And the difficulty, because as most of you know, DMVs, that's such an easy way for people to be able to not only register to vote, but you need ID, right? Because if you need ID to vote, you got to get to a DMV.
Yeah,
absolutely. And those closures were overwhelmingly affecting African American communities. So there's just so much at stake. And it's not that I'm one to say that, well, we got to vote for the Black guy, but at the same time, I think to stand by and support good candidates who are also of color is really important, because that helps us increase representation in the political process.
Yeah, long overdue.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the voting rights in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anytime they require, you know, voter ID, and they close or threaten to close 38 facilities that issue those voter IDs, really trying to make sure people are involved in the process. You're basically restricting them from the process. And if we really consider and think about what's really happening in North Carolina and Alabama and across the country, is we have a lot of Republican legislatures that are basically being fed these model pieces of legislation for voter ID.
Absolutely.
So until we actually get the individuals that, we actually need a new turnover of people running for office. People.
Yes,
that's where it starts.
That's the bottom line, and I can tell you right here on your show that I'm actively recruiting people here in the 3rd District to run for city council. We're planning to challenge every Republican in every seat, challenge them with a progressive that's fighting, whether we win or not. We're planning to fight for each one of them, and that's the only way we'll be able to turn the electorate out.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse,
2014 they were.
I'm sorry. I don't want. We can't go
I'm losing you there a little bit, bro.
over that for that project to work, huh?
So we lost you for a little bit.
Okay. Please tell the folks what kind of help you need. Do you need boots on the ground, money? What do you need? Let's talk to the folks and see if we can get some help to you now down there in the 3rd District. And I'm gonna be some boots on the ground myself. I'm gonna come down and check you out.
That's great. Well, you said we definitely need people on the ground. We need who are willing to donate rides and different other things to volunteers, because the bottom line is, if we want to have politicians and people in office who are not beholding to the special interests in these big corporations, well, as citizens, we have to, and I really give Bernie Sanders all the credit for this, but I give him a great deal of credit for letting people see the importance of small contributions.
Absolutely.
Chip in, and that's the message that I'd like to continue to drive forward. I cannot compete with my opponent in fundraising. He's already surpassed $1 million already. But what we can do, what we can do is we can continue to move forward aggressively, making his money null and void. It's a null and void because there's nothing that's on the receiving end. There's no message on the end of it. The few dollars, the $7,000 that we have raised and our qualification fee, well, with less than $10,000 here in the 3rd District.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't know you were doing all that down there, Jesse. We need to. Well, this is one of the things we may need to talk about, replicating that, Anoa.
Well, we should, and actually, we were talking because I know this was last minute. So again, Jesse.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jesse. That's on me.
This was last minute because we all of a sudden Ben asked me to host. I'm like, okay, great, all this news happened, but then we also had another election day, even though it was a small primary day, but it was. In some ways, the Florida races were in some ways kind of symbolic for a lot of people when we talk about, the next phases of this movement. But so I really wanted to talk about, kind of where do we go from here type of thing in terms of all the different campaigns and elections we're all working around. And then Mike was like, well, let's bring in Jesse if he's available. I'm like, yeah, Jesse's awesome. Let's bring in Jesse. So Jesse, we definitely want to do something more with you. Beyond this, because I think I tweeted out maybe a couple of days ago, I'm in Atlanta, so I'm not too far away, so whatever we could do to help, seriously, to get you the support
road trip.
We might need to. I might need to bring in Stacey Hopkins and bring her on down, and we do something, do a weekend trip or something, because I really do think that what you said is absolutely right. Bernie Sanders gave us the example, right? He showed us that we can get out there and we can do. You can stand on your convictions. You can be about what you say you're about, and people, if they come together, we can make something happen. And I know folks are upset because it's hard to get over that establishment hurdle, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard, but it's not impossible. We have to keep trying, and we gotta.
I'm excited. I'm excited about Team Jesse. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
We need shirts. Do you have shirts?
TeamJesse.com. Yeah.
Man, look, let me tell you. Look, I have a motorcycle event that I'm gonna be riding in. I mean, I'm doing things here that the average politician will not do, because this is coming from a leader versus someone who's trying to perceive and act like a leader. This is fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, Jesse. All right, hey, like I said, folks, please check. What's your website, Jesse? We're not cutting you off or nothing. I'm just asking. What's your website? Let people know.
JesseSmithForCongress.com. Just that simple.
JesseSmithForCongress.com, folks. Please check it. And I gotta thank Jesse again. When I first started my little baby podcast, which is still a little baby podcast, we're barely walking. We're still in diapers. Jesse came. Jesse was willing to come on, man. That was big for me because he was the first, other than Anoa. He was the first big important person that came on my show.
Well, so this is so we had a great 2-hour recording session, one of the first ones for your podcast, and it didn't record.
Oh
yeah.
So I've actually technically never
I got good
been on the
news.
Louisa.
I screwed up. I didn't. It actually recorded. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm cutting up as we speak.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were talking for 2 hours.
Well, now I'm gonna tell them myself real quickly. So last Saturday, Tim Black, shout out to Tim Black. Tim Black had a Canova-thon, right? Did a really great last Saturday night, kind of just trying to raise more awareness and drum up some more support to do phone banking for Tim Canova. And so he had a bunch of us come on and stuff. So I Michael Salomon, I was able to come on. Misty Stowe, I believe, was on, and several different people called in and stuff and talked about, what our revolution means, Tim Canova, things like that. Tim Canova called in live. So Ben, I guess, didn't make it into the queue in time, but I was still on. Like, even once I got off, I still stayed on the line. So Ben's like, "No, are you on the phone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could call you in on three-way," because Ben was supposed to be on too. So I dial him in, and we're trying to. So Michael Salomon, Ben and I are in a chat with Tim, and we're trying to get Tim attention. I'm like, I got Ben here. I got Ben. I'm on three-way. I got Ben. Yeah. So we're listening to the show, and we're listening, and he's taking other calls and stuff, and we're trying to get his attention. So it turns out I was supposed to press the number 1, and I never did. And by the time I pressed 1, it was time for the show to go off. So Ben never made it on the show.
Uh-oh.
I felt so bad. I said, Ben was like, "Did you press 1?" And Noah, I said, "What? I didn't have to press 1 when I first came on to talk." He was like, "No, you had to press 1. So lesson learned. I'm really not that technologically challenged, but whenever I call in to either speak to Ben or when I've called into the Down South and Dirty Show with Stacey Hopkins and Scout Smith here in Atlanta, I've never had to press anything before. So I didn't know. And because I had already been on the phone, nothing prompted me to press anything when I called in for Tim either. So, yeah.
It happens, sis. It happens. You're still the number 1 to me.
But we're all family here. It's all love. And I'm
Absolutely.
Like I said, definitely would like to talk with you some more, Jesse, about what we can do to kind of help build and wrap around support for your campaign as you go forward into the general election. Because I really do think that, a lot of folks are really bogged down and stuff because we're like, "Oh, we need Bernie to tell us the way." Bernie told us what to do. People need to come together and rise up and take the lead in their communities at the local level, at the congressional level.
Doing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Jesse's doing. And we need to support people like Jesse who are willing to take a stand, because you have your challenger is something. To say the least.
Yeah.
To put it nicely.
That's the incumbent of incumbents.
Yes, he is.
To put it nicely, as nice as I can. So we want to start seeing change. We want to start seeing good people in office. And then we don't just elect Jesse, right? We continue to support him even in the off cycle when he's not running for re-election, because we're going to claim it.
Absolutely. And not only should we support me, but I challenge people to actually help push me towards getting issues and the agenda for that we need to get forward. I mean, you think about my opponent in the last 14 years has only passed one piece of legislation, and it did not benefit the people. So we have a chance here again from my perch, from where I sit, and I've known this and I've known this for a while. We have a chance here to blow the United States Congress wide open, and I mean do that by taking this guy that I'm challenging, serious, it's that simple. And I believe it's incumbent upon me to show people that I have a winning race, and hopefully they'll be willing to come on board as we get closer. But I'm going to continue to fight. I have a winning strategy.
Okay.
Jesse, you're breaking up, brother.
Am I here?
You're breaking up. There you are. We hear you now.
There you go now. We heard you broke up for a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead, say it again.
Well, basically, I was just saying, we I know, it's a hard road ahead, and hey, I'm willing to fight, and I'm going to fight all the way to the end. I determine when it's over, not my opponent.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's the type of leadership we need. We need people who are willing to go the long haul and not what is being dictated by whomever's looking out for their own personal interest, but what's in the best interest for
the majority of people.
Yep.
I'd like to tell you a quote that I just recalled that was always on my leadership evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically a bullet was willing to go the distance and win. Mm-hmm. That was a consistent message on my evaluation, because I'm willing to go the distance and I'm willing to win, and I believe we're going to win.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, let's go. Hey, let's go. Road trip. Let's go. Everybody ready to go? Let's go. Everybody.
You pull together a caravan and see what's possible. Yeah, because this is how we win. This is how we move the needle. This is how we begin to change. And move things along. So who's that? Oh, that's Eric. So there is so much happening. Like I said, there's a lot happening today. And actually, I had a lot of news that I actually had wanted to discuss originally, but then all this other stuff started popping off. So coming up, and we may have actually another person end up joining us. It's about to get a little crowded in a few minutes.
It's exciting, man.
And I'm sure David. I'm sure David.
Cross my legs.
I'm sure David is behind the scenes, like, oh my God, this is my night off. But again, this is the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am Anoa Changa, and currently I'm joined with Mike. Oh, our names are on the screen. Duh. But anyway, Mike Redwine, Louisa Project, Jesse Smith running for the 3rd Congressional District in Alabama. Anoa, host The Way with Anoa. Definitely like, subscribe, share the videos. Give Ben a shout out. Ben provides this platform for all of us.
Yes, he does.
He allows us each time on his channel, and it's so thankful for the opportunity to share our voices and our perspectives. Benjamin Dixon Show, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On Monday, you have specials from Nick Nowlin with the Nowlin Takedown. You have me on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. And then you have... it's pre-recorded with the Louisa Project on Wednesdays.
Yeah, please subscribe.
Please subscribe to Louisa Project 2020.
Shameless plug.
The year.
2027.
2027.
That's the year my daughter. That's the fall of 2027. That's when my daughter starts college. We got to fix this before then.
Yes,
we're on the clock, people.
And Thursday nights we have Project Sanity 7 to 9 p.m. and then Benjamin Dixon Show at 9 p.m. Project Sanity, Project Sanity, I always joke because Project Sanity has like more staff than like all the rest of us combined. But it's great though, right? Because like these guys, they have when we did the DNC coverage, we had Adair Smith, who is a Project Sanity, who was on the ground as a Washington delegate. Quite a few folks from Project Sanity are actually out in Washington. So there's a lot of activism. And so Eric from Project Sanity is actually going to come on with us in a little bit to talk a little bit about the TPP rallies and some other stuff that was going on out that way. So we'll get some West Coast coverage. I told you, I got a lot for you tonight. Like, I'm trying to get it all in. And
Team No, baby.
Team No. Don't you know, and possibly, if he has time, we may be joined by Roy Tatum to discuss that that memo, there's the Guccifer, there's a whole nother round of memos that have been leaked out from Guccifer.
Yeah, we got to talk about that memo. If we stay a little late, we got to talk about that memo.
I actually think Roy just popped in. So Nancy Pelosi's computer, that memo, so that memo. So just a little background. While we are all getting squared up and stuff like that. Hi, Roy.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. We have a full house right now. You are on with myself and Mike Redwine, both of us here from Progressive Army. Mike hosts a pre-recorded show. Mike hosts a show on Wednesdays, Louisa Project. I host on Tuesday nights ordinarily, but we're filling in for Ben tonight. We're also joined by candidate Jesse Smith from Alabama. And then we have another one of our team members coming on after you to talk about the TPP, some stuff that happened out west. But I wanted to talk to you, though, about this memo, because I saw it, because, I was already buzzing about it. I saw you had some posts about it, too. And you guys can chime in if you want to as well. But I really want to. So, Roy, I'll let you introduce yourself, because you're a man with many hats and many titles, brother.
I am. Hello, everyone, and definitely a pleasure to make everyone's acquaintance. Roy Tatum, I'm a political operative, worked in the world of politics for about 20 years. I've recently been the Deputy Director for African American Outreach for Senator Bernie Sanders, and currently serve as a senior advisor on the Jill Stein campaign. And so it's been amazing over the last year or so with the political climate, the way that it is and the direction that it's going in, and the impact of Black Lives Matter in the entire campaign. And so with the WikiLeaks leak and what we experienced on the campaign and what we now know to be true as it relates to how the DNC, the Clinton campaign handled Bernie Sanders, we also see and know, confirmed, that the DNC and the Clinton campaign operated in cahoots to railroad Black Lives Matter. So, and to see those points, those talking points of, make sure they meet with a low-level official, frontline official, don't give any hard commitments to the policy points. And I mean, and the policy points that Black Lives Matter is asking for is something that for the police departments that I've talked to and police officials that I've talked to, they don't feel that they're all that unreasonable. Don't get me wrong, it may add a bit more work to have an account for the deaths at the hands of the police, the tracking of the police misconduct. Those types of things are something that police officers want more of. They want the training. They want to be equipped to deal with the police. The police officers that I've encountered are not people that say they want to just go out and kill people. They want to handle the situations or try to de-escalate the situations the best way that they can. However, we've seen far too many situations where they've just ended up in the deaths of young black, brown men and women and children at that matter. So to see Black Lives Matter requests being treated like this by the DNC really needs to, that really tells us what we're dealing with, not just with the candidate, as in Hillary Clinton, but with the entire system, with the entire Democratic National Committee. There's a problem there. It's way too white. It's way too, let me just keep it real. It's just way too white, way too suburban. People that, I think the black people in the mix are scared to open their mouths and speak truth in the circles that they wouldn't necessarily get it from. And that's what I feel like we were able to do, myself and Marcus Farrell, on the Bernie Sanders campaign. We were able to give Bernie the real. We were able to give him real information, real conversations about what was happening in the community. And so, and people like Killer Mike around, people like Dr. Cornel West were able to give Bernie at the time a real analysis. And so that's what I'm able to do now with Dr. Jill Stein. I've already conveyed the information to her. She's traveling right now in California, and so already conveyed the message to her. And she's always been open to meeting with Black Lives Matter activists. She's back out in Los Angeles and met with the Black Lives Matter movement in LA. Mm-hmm. And they've embraced her. You can just see on her page a number of live Facebook feeds and tweets or posts with her and Black Lives Matter activists. And so I believe that Black people that embrace Black Lives Matter really need to take a hard look at what's going on with the DNC. Now, let's be real. Mm-hmm. Everybody that is everybody that's Black doesn't embrace Black Lives Matter.
No, so, not at all.
Let's be honest with that. Let's be open with that. Everybody that's Black does not embrace Black Lives Matter. So you're gonna have some Black people, whether they be political leaders, clergy members, elected officials, quote unquote community leaders, make their comments about, well, Black Lives Matter was disorganized, or Black Lives Matter doesn't have a central head of leadership, so Black Lives Matter need to get their stuff together before they try to hold somebody. They'll say all of that to divert the attention away from the real issue. And the real issue is the DNC never had any intention on even listening to the platform of Black Lives Matter leaders, mm-hmm. which really speaks volumes about the DNC and just their mindset as it relates to Black people in general, Black Lives Matter in particular. So I may have said a mouthful. I'm gonna get in trouble. I usually get in trouble for this.
You came in like a wrecking ball, bro. Like,
kick the door in, didn't he?
The last part of what you said about the DNC and never really having any real intention on working with Black Lives Matter, I think is so crucial because I'm probably some of y'all out there do it too. I follow Erica Garner. I really feel like Erica's voice is refreshing, and it's not just because I like the way she has come about things as an independent-minded person. And Erica had a tweet about how back when her father was killed, the DNC was more concerned about stopping Al Sharpton's march across, I think it was the Verrazano Bridge, than actually the outrage of the incident itself. And there is a history. We've seen this. I mean, we even saw this. That memo was dated November sometime, but we saw this here in Atlanta in October when Hillary Clinton did her unveiling over at Clark Atlanta, and the youth with AUC, the students' youth, or activists, organizers with AUC shut it down. And also, like, when they use the term Black Lives Matter as that umbrella term, where you have a lot of different organizers and organizations out there that have been trying to work and really get messaging across on these issues. And the group from AUC shut it down. A group of students down here, when they interrupted her welcome to Atlanta speech, and they were shushed out and put out by John Lewis, for starters, along with Usher Raymond, the entertainer Usher Raymond, Monica. I mean, it's the who's who of the Black elite of Atlanta put these young people out. So when you talk about breaking down that not everybody who's Black is for Black Lives Matter, that is absolutely true. And we watched that unfold here in Atlanta. And that's only a month before this memo about how to engage, because everybody was fine when Bernie was getting run up on stages, and we can get into all the intricacies of that as well. But there was a response from the campaign that showed, at least after some conversation, so whatever y'all did behind the scenes, where we never really saw that, and we still to this day haven't seen that from the Hillary Clinton campaign. We've seen nothing but pandering. We haven't seen that from the DNC as a whole, because when you look at Michael Bloomberg being on the stage of the Democratic National Convention, Mr. Stop and Frisk is nothing wrong with it, and black men shouldn't own guns, legal or otherwise. I mean, you can't tell me that you're seriously taking our concerns to heart when you put somebody like that on the stage to speak in a moment of unity. You know, you can parade the moms out all you want to, something that you have put onto a movement. And I say you as in the DNC, as in this, they talk about, and it's so funny that memo talks about not co-opting the movement, right? But that's exactly what we saw happening when people decided to market and to take use. When you have Trayvon Martin's mother talking about gun control and her son was not killed from an incident that would have been prevented by gun control, that's all we have there is pandering and co-option happening. So you said a mouthful, but it's absolutely spot on. Yeah, I don't know anyone else listening wants to hop in what they thought when they saw that. I mean, I think there were some points that were, it just seemed like a lot of handling, right? Instead of having honest conversations, which is what we need more of.
Hey, let's. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let's get. We get Bernie
let's go back to Roy because Mike, you're breaking up a little bit. So I'll go back to Roy.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is about this memo is really the audacity that they have to feel like they got to tell. And I mean, there are black people that work on the local level of the Democratic National Committee. I mean, there are black people in cities all across the country that know how to engage. I mean, most of the Black Lives Matter activists are grassroots members of the community. Mm-hmm. So to send out this memo to say this is how you deal with people in your community, I believe that I don't know who, what's his name, Troy Perry. I don't know who that is, but I want to find out who he is, find out what his back. I mean, just dude, where did you come from?
He's a brother. And who somebody's been tweeting out. They've been tweeting out his information all day.
Like who are you to say this is how you deal with Black Lives Matter? Did that come from Debbie? Did that come from Debbie Wasserman Schultz? So I believe we need to take that conversation as far as it can go, because
absolutely.
DNC, did it come from Debbie? Did Debbie see it? Did Debbie approve it? And did Obama know about it? Did the White House know about it? So if we're saying, okay, Democrats, black people that voted Democrat, 95% of the time, Donald Trump has a 1 to 2% approval rating in the black community.
Yeah.
The Democrats have what, a 90-some%, 94%? I mean, do the Democratic Party want black millennials in their party? That's really what they got to ask. Because older black people, it is what it is. A lot of older black people that are gonna just, they're gonna suck it up. They're not gonna say anything. They're gonna act like it didn't happen, and they're gonna do whatever they can to get Hillary elected. But young black people, the young millennials that are seeing this, because I'm really impressed with this millennial generation, because they are not down with the corruption, with the collusion, with the backroom dealings. They do not want unfairness in politics. I feel very good about this new millennial generation that's coming up, because and they're not talking about the black, white, they're not talking about that in that regard, but if they see unfairness, they're tackling it wherever they find it. And just as much as we can talk about the GOP, we got to deal with the DNC and the crap that they're dishing out, because this is why I feel like you got black grassroots organizers that can't get jobs when in political campaigns, because they've got all these people lined up. These it's a whole bunch of nepotism that's going on, and you got, but they want black people to do the job, the knock on doors, the phone bank, and the low level stuff. But when it comes to having a seat at the table and making the decisions, there's no room for that black political operative a lot of time in the DNC, especially if you're not willing to go along to get along.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse, where you at, Jesse? Come on, talk to me.
Warren just came in here and just like blew everything all up.
Yeah, we hear you, Jesse. Jesse, let's see what you got to say, and then we're going to see what Eric got to say. Let's go.
Well, you're right, Anoa. You're right, Anoa. Roy came in. Hey, nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure.
You came in and you just blew the roof off the mother. You blew the roof off. I mean, there's basically nothing else you can actually say with regards to how we need to understand what's really going on.
Right.
I've seen, I ran for Congress in 2014. You mentioned that I'm running against a Republican who's, basically a villain in the Republican Party, if you will. And the DNC didn't try to help in 2014, and they're not trying to help now. So I don't believe that they are, or they have, our best interests at heart, if you will. So it's good to hear that there are, people on the grassroots level all this country. I just came in once again, and he let me know that the path and the mindset that I have, engaging our people, I'm going about it the right way,
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I just got up to pick up this memo, so I printed it off so I could just have it in my hands and read it. And I mean, I'm glad to know that the DNC knows the platform of Black Lives Matter. I mean, I'm happy to know that. Mm-hmm. And for their response, I mean, it's just very telling. It's just very telling that the DNC, I mean, it's an official correspondence for internal use only, sent from Troy Perry to the DCC, which is the Democratic Congressional Committee Communications,
Personal
right?
Campaign Committee,
Communication staff.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, and where's Simone? Doesn't Simone Sanders work for them now?
I'm not exactly sure what her new position is, but yeah. You were a mess. We'll talk later.
Somebody get to see that bus? I saw that bus.
Okay, I did find a tweet from Erica. Erica said the DCCC in 2014 told staff not to talk about Eric Garner. They were more focused on stopping Al Sharpton from shutting down the Verrazano. So this is not out of sorts. And I'm sure other people who have been political consultants and stuff will say, there's nothing wrong with it. This is what would be said about any protest movement. I think when we look at how Black Lives Matter and that, like, again, as that umbrella term for all these different groups, I think we look at how it's gripped the nation and how it really helped shape the conversation in the primary in particular. It's disheartening to see what was allegedly something that's supposed to be so evolved, especially from the candidate and from the party that's supposed to be so great for us to see that is, I mean, disheartening to say the least. I mean, it's not unexpected, it's what we've been talking about already for a while. But even when you look at many of the cities where some of these incidences, when we're just looking at just the criminal justice, just the police brutality, violence aspect, in many of these cities, we're talking about long democratically held establishment leadership too. So, I mean, we really do need to begin to analyze that relationship between Black communities, Black voters, and the Democratic Party. And that's not saying, because I had someone ask me this morning, so you're supporting Trump? Nah, I'm not supporting that idiot. But what I'm saying is, if you want my vote,
people don't know where to go.
My body, well, yeah, people don't know where to go.
Know where else to go.
People don't know where to go. People don't understand what they're worth, right? Like we hear it all the time: the black vote, got to get out the black vote. Well, then we need people to work for our vote. Come get my vote. We heard that so much when it came to Bernie Sanders in the primary. That needs to apply across the board to everyone. Come get my vote.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hillary's been treated with such kid gloves over the last year.
Continues to be so. Yes.
I mean, it's amazing, and I mean, unfortunately, we see the corporate media. They're trying to do everything they can to push the Clintons back into the White House for whatever reason that is. I mean, they've got their agenda we've got to have our agenda. We evidently have, I believe Black Lives Matter is a huge portion of the agenda as far as being safe in the communities and preventing police brutality and curbing police violence and putting an end to mass incarceration. But and what we see what happens with how they treat our agenda behind closed doors, that's the whole thing. We're not even getting a fair shake on our agenda. So there are a number of reasons we haven't even gotten into dealing with the results of the agenda. We're talking about how you even deal when we come together, when we organize and we present, this is what we want. We see how you treat us before we even have a meeting.
Right. So I'm getting. Go ahead. Okay.
Right, the Democrats
breaking up on my end. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, I was just saying,
we're losing you again.
Oh, well, go ahead.
It's just bootleg Alabama internet. That's
but I was gonna say,
I live with it too, brother.
I feel like I'm looking at the time, and I know my producer David. Again, if you guys tuning in, this is the Benjamin Dixon Show, and we're going overtime, and I know David's gonna kill us. But I do have to switch over to Eric, who's joining us from the West Coast for just to talk about. I have to put a pin in our conversation. I'm going to have to get a rain check with everybody because we need to finish this conversation. So I need to bring back this panel I have right here, right now, to finish this conversation about Black voter engagement, participation. Where do we go next? Supporting candidates like Jesse and moving forward, and also to pick Roy's brain a bit about the Green Party and the Green Party as an option for Black voters. I mean, is the Green Party where we go? I don't know. You guys all know me. I have not sworn allegiance to anyone. I like to be independent, and I like to give y'all good information. But Eric actually had some information for us about some protest activity going on out west involving TPP. And I have a whole list of stuff that you've been up to today. But Eric joins us from Project Sanity. So I do want to thank Roy and Jesse for joining us tonight. Like I said, again, it was last minute, and you guys just hopped on with me and Mike, and I greatly appreciate it. But I'm definitely following up.
Let's get some contact info before they go.
So yeah, I have contact info. You guys, I have contact info for both of them.
I'd like to talk to both of them too.
But I definitely want to circle back, and we actually have a project that we're developing internally that might be of interest to both of you as well.
Yes.
A series of panels and stuff that we're working on. Basically, Movement for Black Lives came out with that awesome platform that was unveiled, and Sean King has also been doing this series about solutions and issues and stuff. So we thought that as a progressive media outlet, conglomerate, whatever we're calling ourselves, squad, really bringing together good people to do a series of panels, and we're breaking out the topics and stuff and reaching out to folks, activists, community leaders, family members who've lost people, in incidents, just reach across a broad spectrum of people to have conversations around these issues, academics. So that's something that we're working on right now. It's not completely finished, but I definitely want to get that information to you guys to see about maybe, collaborating. And we also, we're starting to do so much more overall. So I definitely want to thank you guys for hopping on. But I know David would like to go to bed, and I have to get to Eric real quick.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
And I will be following up before I go to bed with both of you, because I want to continue these conversations. They're absolutely important, and we have to continue to push these narratives.
And we got to talk.
We're almost out of time, but I have to get to Eric because
go ahead,
Eric is.
Eric.
Is there sun out where you are?
No, there's not. As a matter of fact, I opened all the windows in here to try to better the lighting, and it didn't do a damn thing.
No, the lighting is. I was like, is he out in the sun?
It's all romantic and stuff. What's going on?
No, I got.
How are you?
The windows are open. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Talk to me about today. I mean, I know today has been wow. Oh. That's right. Eric. So Eric is not only a member of Project Sanity. Eric is not only a kick-ass community activist in his own right. Eric is running for state treasurer as a write-in with the Green Party, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's going to be the plan, actually. Yeah, so it actually all ties in. The candidate itself ties into all this also with the protests. So basically, in the last 24 hours, what we've done is we have gone and delivered hundreds of postcards to both Representative Denny Heck and Representative Derek Kilmer, who are House of Representative members from Washington State, as well as protesting outside of a huge fat fundraiser for Patty Murray, who is a U.S. Senator. And we also had Lauren Steiner, who's a contributor to our show. We had her out in Lake Tahoe protesting an event Obama was holding with some big wigs like Harry Reid. Basically just letting people know that even though Mitch McConnell's coming out saying that he's not going to let a vote happen, we're still going to keep the pressure on, because rumor has it, and people are talking, that the TPA fast track actually will allow Obama to still bring this to a vote, even if the House and the Senate don't bring it to a vote themselves. So we got to keep the pressure up and keep things going. And that's the write-in campaign is actually part of that also. So basically, we have organized inside Washington State, and each and every single candidate who has not spoken out against the TPP or is in support of it, well, we're going to run against them, because we need to show them that they can't just do things that are going to harm our country, and we're just going to sit there and take it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's
breaking up, Eric.
That's pretty. So earlier today, in addition to this, because I know because I have a whole list of stuff that was going on today. So also, Lauren Steiner, who participated in our coverage of the DNC, correct? She led a protest similarly in Lake Tahoe.
So did Jesse,
right?
yeah.
Right. And okay.
Yeah, she was.
I lost my place. I have notes. No, I have notes, and I lost my place. I'm like, oh my god. Go ahead, Eric. I just turn over to you.
Actually, so I would like, if you don't mind, I know we were trying to switch to me, but I wanted to speak to something Roy was talking about.
You know what? Hey, I got about 5 more minutes before David kills me. So
control these people in Noah.
So after our primary here in Washington, we had a big discussion that was actually led by Noelle Frame. She's also a U.S. House of Representatives member. She is a Bernie-crat. And basically we had this conference call, and we all came to the agreement. So we were studying what went wrong when progressives lost their races to try to defeat incumbents in the primary. And what we decided and what we figured out is there's too many old white men, that they need to sit down and let the diverse voices stand up. And we've made it very clear that we need to not stand in the way of that. There's enough old white men that are already in the Senate, that are already in the House, that already have offices. And so we have all kind of made a pact within the progressive alliance within Washington State, that if there is a diverse voice who wants to run for a seat that you want to run for, then you better step aside, because we need more diverse voices. And I think that throughout the United States, we need to start making pacts like that, because if you really are progressive, then you want those diverse voices regardless of the color of your skin.
Interesting.
Well, I definitely think that's relevant, and I still believe if the best candidate is not a person of color, then everybody support the best candidate. But if the best candidate is a person of color, a black person, a brown person, Asian person, whatever, then do not try to thwart that effort. Everybody come together behind the best candidate. And a lot of times the best candidate has been a black person or a person of color, and we find out that the white establishment is uncomfortable or untrusting of that person, of following that person or submitting to that person's leadership for whatever reason, because I don't know why the trust is not there. We've been trusting them for a long time, to our own peril a lot of times, but it's just got to be the trust there, and that's all across the board, especially in the progressive space where you speak to the issues that resonate with the black community, the African American community, the brown community, you speak to the issues that directly impact us. So if there's a leader within that movement, let that leader lead, support that leader. I agree with you 1,000% on that. But I want to add, I want to support the best candidate. Mm-hmm. Like we should have supported Bernie Sanders all the way across the board because he was obviously the best candidate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely agree.
Candidates like Jesse.
Alabama 3rd Congressional District. Yes, we gonna make this happen.
Big up.
So like I said, there's a lot of news that happened today. So Donald Trump was in Mexico and gave a joint conference with the Mexican president, the current president. Apparently, Vicente Fox was angrily tweeting. The former president was angrily tweeting at him. But the issue, Donald Trump was so docile in comparison today, and he was reading. He read his remarks, and he was overly nice. It's when that like older person tries to say really nice things without being offensive, and so it doesn't sound sincere. Like he's like, I know many Mexicans, they work for me.
So condescending.
It's too late. But the issue of how much the wall would cost or who was going to pay for it never came up during the actual press conference. So he got pushback about it. So I guess now he's saying, now he's stressing his point. He's coming back around. But that was one thing. And while he was doing that, Secretary Clinton was in Cincinnati, I believe, speaking before. I'm trying to think of what group. It's a veteran group. It's a veterans group that she was speaking before earlier today in Cincinnati. So that was just kind of around that. And then I guess we were getting some. So Ben has built this great team. And so folks drop us good links about news and stuff. And sometimes we get to them and sometimes we don't. But thank you. Shout out to Rachel for dropping this information. So I guess it came out that Secretary Clinton, that in some of the emails that have been released now, it shows that she actually emailed out classified information after she left office. So, there was a whole big thing about when you leave office, you're supposed to return over all the documents, stuff like that. So apparently she still had access and was still receiving classified information after
she had to return the White House furniture.
So,
good and well. Return the White House furniture.
So I know folks are tired of the damn emails and stuff, but regardless of going forward and how you choose to vote and stuff, we do need to demand accountability and hold people who are in positions of authority, accountable. For those who are federal workers, if you're under, a certain level, you don't have nearly the same level of security clearance. If you withhold, personal information, if you hold anything that's of a certain, security for the government, you can get fired. Like, you will be done. And we just need to see that's similarly applied across the board for everyone involved. So for me personally, it's not about vendettas or right-wing conspiracy theories or any of that nonsense. It's just about accountability. And it's something that we need to demand of our leadership across the board, no matter who it is, no matter what they're running for, no matter what they're doing. So I'm going to get ready to close this out. I would like to thank everyone for joining us. And if everyone has closing statements about anything that we have discussed in that hour and 15 minutes or so that we've been on the air, I greatly appreciate you guys. Let folks know how to get in touch with you. And I'm definitely going to circle back around now because this actually ended up becoming way more lively. Like, I've only talked to Roy via Messenger and on the phone one time, and he was so professional and calm. You just came in here with like all this energy. I just warned me about you, but he said Marcus said Roy is a righteous brother. I didn't realize.
Welcome to the Terradome.
Hey, I got that in my CD changer right now.
So I will start with you, Roy. Everybody close remarks so we can close this episode of the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Well, I definitely look forward to working with you all and having more interactions in the near future. I just want to say, I believe that the way all of this is going is really going to turn a lot of people off from the political process, and we can't afford to not participate. So we want to make sure that people stay engaged, stay enraged, stay angry, stay hold the feet to the fire, not just before the election, but obviously we got a long way to go to get where we want to go. So we got to make sure that people remain engaged. I know that a lot of folks are not going to be supporting Trump, and I know even more people are not going to be supporting Hillary Clinton. So now, where are our choices? I believe the best choice for us at this point in time is the Green Party and the Green Party candidacy of Jill Stein with Ajamu Baraka as her running mate. So study, do your homework. You can feel free to reach out to me. My Twitter is easy, Roy, ROYTATEM on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. Or my email is ROYTATEM@gmail. So feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to communicate with me on Twitter. I'll try my best to get back to you. I'm not the best tweeter, but I'm trying to step my Twitter game up.
You better check with Jesse. He's firing them up. Okay, hey, folks. Hey, let's hear from Jesse. See some contact information from Jesse. Thank you, Roy.
Yeah.
No problem.
Hey, it was great being on. Anytime you need me on, just send me the message. You know how to get to me.
No doubt.
JesseSmithForCongress.com. You can also find me on Twitter at JT4Congress 2016. And other than that, hey, I'm out here with my head down and leaning forward towards victory.
Cool. All right, Eric. Sorry, we kind of ignored you there, brother. Let's talk to us.
Oh no! I feel bad. I feel like I should have just shut up and let Roy keep going. I was going somewhere.
He was pressing
it. For real. So I just think it's important to remember that we need to keep the pressure on, because nothing has ever been given to us that's obvious. In fact, they always just try to keep us from what we really deserve and the rights that we have. Healthcare should be a right. School education should be a right. Equality should be a right. And these are all things that are still not given to all people of this country. And so we all need to keep fighting. You can reach me at EM Project Sanity on Twitter, or you can check out projectsanity.org to see Project Sanity's videos. I'll have a website up by the end of the week in terms of my state treasurer candidacy. And I just want to say thank you to Anoa for having me on tonight, even though I probably stole something really epic from happening by butting in. I'm just
it's actually
All right. So we have some technical difficulties on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm sorry we're having some technical difficulties on this end, folks. But thank you all for coming. That's everybody. For me, Louisa Project 2027. Please subscribe at Louisa Project 2027 on Twitter and Mike_Redwine on Twitter. Anoa, The Way with Anoa. That's her Twitter handle. Please check out her show. All of us here thank you very much from all of us here on the Benjamin Dixon network or channel, whatever we're gonna call it today. And I guess that's it. Anybody else got anything to say before we go? Let's go home. Bye.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support the Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider